Welcome to Shalaborate. I'm Kath.
And I'm Kyra. This is our podcast for the girls, from the girls.
We're telling our stories, hyping up women who inspire us, and shalaborating every step of the way.
It's time to give you the girl talk you've been waiting for. Let's get into it.
All right, welcome back, Shalaborators.
Hello. This episode, we're excited to share the story and some of the work of someone that I just met a few weeks ago. She's incredibly smart and talented. Our guest today is Elena Kalina, and she's in the process of getting her PhD. We're super excited to talk about what she's been working on. I met her at a mutual friend's wedding and just a few weeks ago, and now we have her on the show.
Just instantly clicked.
Yeah, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, it's good to meet you.
Yeah.
I heard so much about you. Kyra was raving about you when she got back from the wedding.
Well, that's so funny. I've been doing the same about Kyra.
Amazing.
I listened to like a bit of a couple of episodes, so I think I get like the gist of what's going on. Yeah, but I'm really excited to be
Which
here.
one did you listen to?
Yeah. I listened to a good chunk of the first episode just to like see what it was that you two were kind of going after, what you envisioned for the podcast. And then I listened to like 20 minutes of the most recent one about Malia.
Cool. Yeah, we love that one.
Malia's one of our really good friends.
That's kind of also a theme that we've kind of incorporated throughout our seasons, is like just adding to our girl gang, just adding cool girls that we meet randomly into the gang. So welcome to the gang. We're so excited to have you.
Thank you.
Can you introduce yourself to our guests a little bit, your name, where you're from, kind of what you're working on right now?
My name is Elena Kalina. I'm a fifth-year PhD candidate, which means that I am working on my dissertation and will be graduating soon. I also have a master's degree, master's in science. I am a certified health education specialist, and I have a 200-hour vinyasa yoga practice, as well as a couple other minor yoga trainings that I've participated in. So that's kind of the breadth of my expertise at the moment.
That's a large
That.
field.
That's a ton of stuff.
Thank you.
That's incredible.
Yeah, where should we
Thank
start?
Yeah, where do we start with that?
Can you talk about what your master's is in, and then how that you found yourself into the PhD program and what that program and kind of dissertation looks like?
Yeah, I'm going to kind of start from the beginning because I think it's
okay.
It's
Perfect.
a rounded story. I'll start with, I'm 26, so I'm a little bit young to be pursuing a PhD and have already, accomplished higher education in some way. And in my undergrad, I studied psychology, and that was back in Arizona, where I'm originally from. I went to Arizona State University, and I did an honors thesis there, which kind of exposed me to the world of research. And that was just before the pandemic. So I graduated with my bachelor's in December of 2019, and then 2020 rolled in and everything went remote. So I worked and did a lab manager position at an alcohol research lab during the first year of the pandemic, which was very interesting for me. That was kind of my first exposure into substance use research, which is what I do now. And then I took basically a gap year applying to PhD programs, and then I ended up getting into school here at the University of Florida. And so I came to pursue my PhD in 2021. August of 2021 is when I started. And I actually matriculated my master's along the way. So that means I took core courses within my department, or what my degree is in, which is called health education. And along the way, I finished those classes out and got my master's in December of 2023. So it's kind of been part of the PhD process.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So I took, a lot of classes focused in health education, health behavior, which is really the foundation of how we behave in terms of our health and what promotes positive health behaviors and what kind of degrades or discourages positive health behaviors. And that's really been the foundation of my PhD. And for my PhD and like my dissertation, I am an alcohol researcher. I research alcohol problems in college students. And my dissertation is specifically on heavy drinking among college students and really how they set drinking limits, and what kind of encourages them or discourages them to stick to their limits throughout the night while they're drinking. And really the goal of that research is to identify specific targets to use in app-based interventions, which is also part of what I do. I develop interventions that help students make better decisions while they're drinking throughout the night.
That's so freaking cool. And like, I love that it's app-based because I feel like students will actually use it. Like people will actually, they always have their phones. They'll actually like be able to use what you're creating right now.
Yeah, I can't tell you how many times I've been to the doctor where they hand me like a survey to fill out, and I'm like, I'm not gonna fill this out. But with an app, yeah, I'll fill it on my phone. Like that just seems a lot more user friendly, especially to a younger generation.
Mm-hmm. I wanted to back up. Can you talk to us a little bit for people who might not know what pursuing a PhD means? Can you talk us through that, kind of how that's different than getting your bachelor's degree or an associate's degree from a college?
Yeah, that's a good question. I also have an associate's degree and a bachelor's, so I think I can like definitely speak to what that means in addition to those other experiences. Pursuing higher education in any ways is great, and especially associates and a bachelor's degree kind of expose you generally to a specific topic. You kind of learn like the breadth of a topic. So an inch deep, but a mile wide, you learn like a ton of things. And for me specifically, I learned a lot about psychology and many different aspects of what psychology is. So we learned about like the development of humans, all of the lifespan of what the psychology and how it changes across the lifespan. We also learned about like abnormal psychology, which is what a lot of people are typically interested in. So like disorders, mood disorders, personality disorders, and other kinds of ailments and like mental health problems. People are typically interested in those things. And then we also learned about like substance use behaviors. And that's where my interest really started to develop. I took this class in undergrad called psychopharmacology, which is all about like the behavior as well as the biology of substance use. And substance use includes both illegal, like illicit substance use, as well as like medication and prescribed substance use. So we got to learn this kind of huge array of what it means to take medicine, how medicine works within our bodies or any kind of drug, how it works in our brain and how it changes behavior, changes how we act. And through that, I started to really get interested in different kinds of drugs of misuse. I have a particular interest in cannabis and in psychedelic research, but I also got some exposure into the alcohol side of things through working with this particular lab. And that's really interesting because alcohol is legal. So we can actually do some really cool research, which involves really an in-person bar lab. So I've worked in 2 different bar labs in which we actually set up an office to look like a bar. And then we invite college students to come drink. We actually pay them to drink. And then we test different things. There's some experimental tests that we've done, and also some tests of like app-based interventions to see like how they function in a realistic environment. And then we've given students those apps to go use in the real world to kind of compare their experience in the lab versus the real world. So it's a little bit easier to do that with alcohol than other illicit substances for legal reasons, really. So that's one really interesting aspect of studying alcohol specifically. And so, through those experiences, I realized I would like to continue, really doing research. So I got some exposure to research and I was like, oh, this is amazing. Like, I'm so interested in this. I get to figure out why people act the way they do, especially when they're using drugs. And originally, I actually wanted to pursue a master's. Like, I didn't really know what the process was like of going into higher education. And I had a really kind mentor back in the day who said, well, why don't you just get a PhD? Like, you can get a master's along the way. And I was like, you can do that? That's allowed?
That was my first question.
Yeah, I didn't realize that you could do that.
Yeah, the more traditional approach is to get a master's and then go into a PhD, but they've kind of changed the process really to make it more functional for people's careers, because it's kind of silly to go and take a bunch of classes for master's and then come back for PhD, take a bunch of classes that are usually overlapping in many ways. So they've kind of just combined it all into one. And they say if you've taken the classes, then you can get the master's, and then you just continue on to doing the dissertation to get the PhD. And so, but, I think to answer your question, PhD is very involved. It's a lot. It typically involves 9 credits of classes per semester, which is usually about 3 classes. And in addition to that, you are doing about 20 hours a week of research. And you do research with a particular mentor that you apply or people apply to work with. And that research looks different based on the topic. So for me, like in my first year, I worked in one of those bar labs, and I organized and managed a study in which I would bring students in to come drink. And then I would oversee like all of the things on that project. So I was coordinating with participants and training undergrad research assistants to work with these participants. And then overseeing like the entire process of what we call drinking sessions. So students would come in and drink, and I would be in charge of everything from getting them an Uber to and from the bar lab to getting them a Jimmy John sandwich so they could sober up before we send them home, and making sure I calculate exactly how much each participant was supposed to drink that day. So it's very involved. And so, yeah, you do classes and you do research, but I've kind of done things to the extreme a little bit. So when I was in my second year, I joined a research fellowship called a T32 program, which is a fellowship that is awarded from the NIH to a group of professors or an organization at a university. And then those professors, they divvy out funds to individual fellows. So you have to apply to this group and they have to award you the fellowship. So I joined that, but the contingency with that is that I had to start taking 12 credits per semester. So immediately, like the amount of work that I was doing just ramped up to an extreme amount. And I've been a fellow now all of these years. So I've taken way more credits than most people take. I actually this semester hit 120 credits, which is actually what you need to get a PhD. So I should have it now, but I am not quite done doing all my research. So it's quite involved.
Holy smokes. Yeah, when I was reading, because prior to this interview, I was like, okay, what is a PhD? What do you have to do? One of the things that I read was the expectation for a bachelor's or an associate's or even a master's degree is that you're kind of learning pre-existing knowledge and like widening your breadth on what you know. When you're in a PhD program, you are creating new knowledge. That's what the whole point of like the dissertation is. And I was like, wow, that just kind of takes academia to a whole new level when you are now expected to produce new knowledge that other people will then be learning at lower levels in education. And I don't think I ever, prior to this interview, realized that.
Yeah, I think that's really well said. And you're exactly right that in the PhD, because you're doing research, you are discovering new things. So it's intense. And I think you're right. I think most people don't really realize what goes into research and what the academic lifestyle is like. And I think, especially kind of recently, there's been a lot of remarks about academics and what they actually do versus what they don't. And I think there's this big misconception about what we do, but really it's using data to develop new research ideas and then test those ideas in some way and then continue to build upon that foundation of knowledge. And sometimes things are wrong and we adjust.
You mentioned a little bit of kind of the lifestyle. Is there something maybe during your bachelor's or growing up that you always kind of felt drawn to that academic lifestyle and studying and that research?
Yeah. Yes, I've always been very studious. Like I was always a good student in elementary, middle, and high school. I didn't really know what I wanted to do though after high school. Like I was in like the National Honor Society and stuff and taking advanced placement classes, but I didn't quite know exactly what I wanted to do. And my mom was kind of my biggest influence because she's very smart. She researches all kinds of things on her own. And at the time that I was going into college, she was like, well, I think you're really interested in psychology, and this new field is kind of up and happening called cognitive psychology. And it involves not just psychology, but also reading and writing and math. And I really, really liked math in particular. So I kind of wanted to do a melting pot of things, like several different things rather than just one skill. And so she kind of pushed me in that direction. But it wasn't until like my last year of college where I started to really get more interested in substance use behaviors. And then it kind of all clicked for me because throughout my life, I've been exposed to different like information about substance use. I've had some people in my family who've had substance use disorders. And I, especially like when I was a teenager, I was super interested in watching movies and documentaries about substance use. Like there's that show Intervention, which is arguably kind of horrible now that I look at it from the lens that I have now. But I watched that show like a lot growing up.
That's the
and was
one where
always
they
really
like
interested.
bring people in, like they surprise someone. It's like all of their friends and family.
I'm not familiar with that.
Yeah. So they basically like someone has a problem. Maybe it's like alcohol or drug related. They'll like gather up all of your friends like in your house. And then instead of it being like a surprise party, you walk through the door and they're like, surprise, intervention, sit down. And then they like go around the room and tell you like, this is how your drug use has been affecting me.
Oh, yikes.
It's kind of I don't know how well it works, but it was a TV show.
Yeah. It was pretty intense. They do that. They'd have like a special interventionist who would attend and like help facilitate the meeting. And then they would invite them to go to rehab, and they would actually take them from there directly to rehab. And then you'd see like 3 months later kind of what the outcome is. And some people did much better and some people didn't. And also before they did the intervention, they kind of followed around the person for a little while to see like what their habits were like. And that's quite intense. And, for TV purposes, they'd always choose people. They choose people who were like really experiencing some really hard things. So, in retrospect, I'm like, oh, is that really like something we should be putting on TV? But it also was very educational for me at the time too.
So all of those life events, just kind of general interest in substance abuse is what led you to choosing your research topic?
Pretty much, yeah. When I got involved with, so when I was in college, I had to do an honors thesis, and I was actually in recovery from an injury that I had in a car accident. And through that, and talking to one of my mentors at the time, he said, oh, I know this really cool woman on campus who's doing this research with virtual reality to develop interventions for bedridden patients. And so he connected me with this woman. Her name's Mina Johnson Glenberg at Arizona State University. Super smart lady. And she does very, very interesting research with virtual reality. And at the time, she was like in the process of trying to get a grant, I think, to do that work. And like it didn't come to fruition at the time that I was in her lab. So I ended up doing my research, my honors research project on, it was a game she developed for like 5th, 6th grade students about biology, about like how animals can mimic other animals in order to not get eaten or, survive in some way. And so I did my honors thesis on this project, which has not really anything to do with what I do now. It was more just to get the experience of research. And I ended up publishing a couple papers with her off of this research, which are actually highly cited right now. They've been very popular. And it's kind of funny because if you look me up, it seems like, oh, I'm this really popular VR researcher, but I'm actually an alcohol researcher now. Those have just been popular, those papers. And so, when I took that psychopharmacology class, I started to seek out what my interests were. And then I took a statistics class with another professor named Julie Paddock Peckham. And she was really interesting. And at the end of the stats class, I said, your interest just really compels me. I'd really, really like to get a closer look at that. And she graciously took me on, even though I was finishing school, and I got some exposure then to like, what is the world of substance use research? particularly the drinking session work, which is called alcohol administration. And at the time, it was also COVID, so I like moved out of my apartment back into my mom's house. Everything's on lockdown, but I decided I'm a college graduate. Like, I want some money. I need some money now. And so I went and I worked as a dispensary agent in a dispensary in Arizona. So I was what they call a bud tender, and I worked at the counter, and people came in and they bought weed, basically, all different kinds of cannabis products. And I worked there for like 9 months, and worked there also from the transition from the medical market to the recreational market. So I got to see, like, what does legal substance use look like? How do you corporatize substance use, basically, was what I was learning. Eventually I left because I was pursuing a PhD. But through that experience, I realized, I'm super interested in cannabis research. Like, this is really interesting how people use it and how now it's legal, and what are the implications of that in terms of public health. And also, cannabis research is, it's developed, but it's kind of rudimentary compared to alcohol research, because we've been able to do research on alcohol. Like, substances that are harder to gain access to have just by default been harder to research. So I saw this interesting path. I saw, if I can learn how to do alcohol administration work, give people alcohol for research, maybe I can also translate that into doing cannabis administration research in the future, like being able to give people cannabis and learning more about what that looks like in their behaviors. So that was kind of my initial goal, but now I'm pretty deep into alcohol research. However, I will be pursuing a postdoctorate fellowship, which is usually what we do after the PhD. It's like a couple of years where we get some additional training and like prepare ourselves for the career that lies ahead. Basically, integrate the PhD school experience, and get some more skills under your belt before going out into the real world. And I do hope to learn more about cannabis research in my postdoc, both alcohol and cannabis, just to kind of widen my breadth of skill and expertise.
I'm just genuinely curious. When you say that you were like working at this dispensary, how much of your interaction with the people influence you to do that? Is it kind of like some interactions you're having with these people? Is it the substance itself? I'm just kind of curious, because I'm sure you met a lot of interesting people too.
Definitely met a lot of interesting people. It was in part talking to people and really learning about, like, what do people use cannabis for in terms of like dealing with their own medical problems. There's not a lot of guidance or like standard information on how to even use cannabis for medical purposes. So people were really like figuring it out on their own, and through the help of people like me who were talking them through it, and really just having these discussions about how did you feel when you use this product versus this one? And okay, you are looking for this kind of feeling, so we should stick to this kind of products. And just that kind of back and forth. And then, I also mentioned I was in recovery from that car accident. And so cannabis became a part of my medical regimen. Like, it was something that I preferred to use. And that actually gave me some like pain relief and muscle soreness relief, but without making me feel like the drunk effects that I would feel when I took like narcotics, for example. They did give me that like in the hospital. And I remember thinking, like, this is not actually helping anything that I'm dealing with. So I think there's a lot of power in cannabis and empowerment in running your own medical lifestyle. We should have the opportunity to learn more about what makes us feel good and make some decisions about that. So that's kind of where that all comes together.
Yeah, like trial and error kind of, but in a safe way.
Yeah.
I think we want to dive in and talk like a little bit about your work. Can you explain your research to someone outside of that field and kind of outside of academia? How would you explain the work that you've done leading up to, I guess, your dissertation and what your dissertation is on?
Yeah, good question. I would say that I study really decision-making to use substances, specifically alcohol. So I look at the decisions people make and like the environment that they're in and how that influences the decisions that they make to use alcohol. and particularly among heavy drinking college students. So college students who already drink quite a bit. So heavy drinking is constituted by 4 or more drinks for women or 5 or more drinks for men in about a 2-hour period.
Holy
So
smokes,
as you can imagine,
that's a lot of alcohol.
it is. But if you can imagine, like in the college context, it's pretty easy for them to drink that much.
Yeah, I mean,
yes, as we get older, the hangovers get harder, and I think that changes decision making too. Maybe you've seen that, maybe you haven't. That affects my decision making.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Basically what we know right now in terms of alcohol research among college students is that it's very popular. It's very common. About 1 in 3 college students endorses heavy drinking in the past month. So it's pretty pervasive. And 1 in 8 college students endorses high intensity drinking in the last month. So high intensity drinking is 8 drinks or more for women or 10 drinks or more for men in about a 2-hour period. So they also are drinking to quite extremes.
Basically pre-gaming, like they're saying, I pre-game before I go out.
Yeah, pre-gaming contributes to that. At least here at the University of Florida, like tailgating contributes a lot to that.
Oh, yeah.
The students will tailgate like all day long up until the football games. And just like drinking culture in general, and also not really understanding your limit. And that's kind of where my research comes in, because I'm trying to figure out how do students limit themselves? Like, how do they figure that out? Do they count the number of drinks they're going to have? Do they think about like how much time they've spent drinking? Do they think about like how drunk I am, like their subjective effects of alcohol? So I'm trying to kind of quantify that and then see what kinds of factors influence heavy drinking college students who drink quite a bit to surpass their limit, and how do those nights look different from other nights that they have when they drink. So that's a lot of information that I'm collecting on each participant. And so the way that I do that is I actually developed an app, organized an app that collects data from students. So I send out surveys to college students multiple times per day. And in my dissertation, it'll be for 28 days. So it's a hefty amount of time. And they'll be answering surveys about how they feel, how stressed they are, how much they plan to drink, if they do plan to drink today, as well as any limits that they may set. For 28 days. And then if they begin drinking, we're also training them to initiate a drinking survey. So each time they drink, they're going to be recording information about where they are, who they're with, how much they're drinking, and how much control they feel over their ability to limit themselves when it comes to drinking. So that's kind of the premise of what I research.
So you're saying you're kind of doing some recruitment. Are people that are doing these studies, are there certain reasons that get them into wanting to do it?
Or, maybe in the last month I've drank and felt bad the next day a few times. So maybe subconsciously they kind of want to learn more about themselves.
What have your findings been? Can you share a little bit about that?
Yeah, I have found that basically, in general, college men, particularly white men, are more likely to deviate from their own limits. They're more likely to drink quite a bit and be influenced by the other people around them to drink quite a bit. College women are unfortunately catching up. Like, they are drinking quite a bit as well. And in the past, they were drinking less, but now they're kind of on par with men. So that's, something we need to pay attention to and maybe intervene sooner if we can. Because we don't want kids to be drinking a lot, period. But we don't want people to be catching up with each other. We've also found that stress has quite a bit to do with how students drink and how they approach drinking. Students do tend to drink quite a bit during like finals week. They're stressed out, they're experiencing their finals, but then usually at the end they drink quite a bit. So, that's just a snapshot of it. There's also many other things that influence drinking, like groups that students belong to. Greek life is kind of notorious for having pretty big parties and having access to funding to support like drinking at those parties. We've done some interviews with students here at the University of Florida and found that, like, I didn't know this. I was surprised to find this, but certain frats will actually go to bars and like basically cover everyone who's drinking within their party. So they'll all like pool money together and put like a giant tab on the bar, like $500. And all the girls that come in saying they're part of that frat or like with them will get to drink on their tab, which is like crazy. Like, how are these kids pulling in that much money to support this kind of thing? You know, I didn't have that money when I was in college.
Charging fees at the door.
Yeah. Cover charge.
Cover charge to get into these frat parties.
Yeah.
These are entrepreneurs out there. Listen, you can't stop them from drinking. They are determined.
I do.
They're determined.
I mean,
When I went to college in 2012,
me and my friends remember going back to like tailgates in college and realizing that students like weren't drinking as much. They were actually going more toward like the weed and the cannabis.
Yeah.
have you seen anything? Is there data to show that like over time we're in general drinking more, like the culture is getting better or worse?
In general, people are drinking less and less. It's been kind of a downward trend since COVID, which is very interesting from like a societal standpoint. And there's no, I don't think, real evidence necessarily to suggest that people are like replacing cannabis or replacing alcohol with cannabis, but we do see more and more people using cannabis. And I think that's an effect of more and more states are legalizing it and people have greater access to it. And there is more and more research that people are starting to conduct on like the use of alcohol and cannabis together among college students, because that is also becoming more prevalent. And what that research shows is that generally alcohol is the harm causer. Like the more alcohol people drink, especially college students, the more potential problems they can experience. And those problems can include both short-term and long-term problems. So short-term meaning like blacking out, hangovers, getting injured, acting a fool, you know, doing embarrassing things, getting in trouble with the law when you are out drinking. And even some more serious things like sexual assault is unfortunately prevalent among college students who drink, whether they understand or know that or not. Usually they don't really kind of know that that's what's happening. But, you know, when you're intoxicated, consent gets really fuzzy. And so, you know, it's not the best situation necessarily to have sex in. And then there's also, you know, some longer term effects of alcohol use. So like, over time, alcohol affects your brain and can actually like minimize how much your brain could have grown, because college students are like, their brains are still developing. Our brains are still developing till we're 25. And so there is some evidence, quite a bit of evidence, like neurological evidence, to suggest that like drinking can kind of stunt the last bit of growth that your brain can do. So it's not great to do that. Drinking is not great, and drinking to excess is not great.
but I'm just genuinely curious, like, are you ever interested in like looking at other populations, and does the research point to other populations that you would maybe study as well?
Yeah, that's also a very good question. Part of the reason that I research college students is because of convenience. Like, I'm at a university, it's easy to access them. Another part of that is that I mentioned college students drink a lot. They also have the highest rates of alcohol use disorder compared to any other age groups, which is very surprising. They typically have mild to moderate alcohol use disorders, and they often mature out of it. So basically that means they usually have some problems with using alcohol, but usually by the end of college, when they start a job and, you know, become a normal person, they usually cut down on their drinking quite a bit. Like, the environment doesn't really afford them to drink so much anymore. However, there are some college students who drink heavily and who are at increased risk for developing alcohol use disorder later in their life. And so that's actually the type of research that I do is prevention of that. I'm trying to identify the people who are at risk right now and prevent them from getting more involved and deeper into alcohol problems in the future.
Very cool. Yeah.
So I like the prevention angle, but I will say that older women are actually drinking at higher rates than ever before. And that is also a very interesting group, and deserves some attention as well, because men, as I mentioned, men have always kind of drank quite a bit. Women are catching up, especially older in life, like 40s, 50s, and 60s.
Interesting.
I would be super interested in this type of research with the military population.
That's kind of why I asked.
Yeah, because the same way I feel like culturally in college, people drink to become a part of the culture. I think it's really similar in the military, but college is 4 years. And like you were saying, people age out of it. What happens when your culture doesn't let you really age out of it?
Or your coping mechanisms like require you to have some sort of like alcohol use.
And the same way you were talking about stress, how alcohol is related to stress. When you're in these high stress jobs,
oh yeah,
it just seems like it's the natural storm kind of that's promoting rampant alcohol use and abuse of alcohol.
Yeah, I think you're hitting the nail on the head. My research, the lab that I'm in, actually researches the intersection of alcohol use and sexual assault among young people. And so some of our research actually is within the military. It's at the U.S. The Air Force specifically is the branch that we've been doing some work with, and specifically the U.S. Air Force Academy. So we have looked into cadets and we've done some research on their alcohol use behaviors, things that may encourage that and that kind of an environment. That in part is because it is kind of a college environment at a service academy. However, you're totally right. Like the environment within the military, I think any branch is high pressure. It also has, there's more men in the military typically. And I think I kind of even heard you mention this in a previous episode of the podcast. But there's this pervasive culture that is kind of more macho, manly, like being weak or having emotions is kind of seen as a weakness, being more in tune with those things. And I think that's what we kind of see from the outside looking in. But I've done interviews with some of these cadets and I think a lot of them are actually more in tune with empathy and like trying to become positive leaders by leaning into like listening to the people around them. So, hopefully that's evidence that the culture is shifting to a degree. Maybe it is in some environments and less in others. But I think there's kind of some systemic things happening with that culture and with that intensity and high pressure, and maybe not other opportunities to kind of let loose that might create the perfect storm for more substance use in the military environment, which is unfortunate because I think, people in the military deserve extra support and they should not be pushed to cope with the situations that they're dealt with in a way that might be negative for them.
Has there been anything that you've come across that really surprised you or was like that's not something that we kind of thought would be the case?
Like not anything specific comes to mind, but we do see this a lot in research. And it usually is based on the type of students that we recruited for that specific sample in the data, or maybe other factors. Like sometimes if you don't get the data showing as much drinking as maybe you expected to see, it's important to investigate if there's other things happening. Like maybe there was like a bye week for football season. And so maybe there wasn't as much drinking related to sports events or things like that. Like it's important to do a little bit more due diligence than just listening to the data. Like it's cool to see, but if something doesn't make sense, we're supposed to probe and ask like, well, why doesn't that make sense? And what kind of an explanation can we give for that?
Is there any misconceptions about your field of study that a lot of people have?
I think so. I think about science in general. I don't know necessarily about like alcohol researchers or substance use researchers, but in general, it seems like the approach that like some political entities have taken this year is that scientists are trying to push a political agenda. That's kind of point blank what some people have said, which I don't think is true. I think scientists are allowed to have their own political standing, absolutely. But I think in general, the approach with scientists is that we listen to the data. We're not going to just make something up. Like if the data tells us this is what's happening, if this is the current trend, then that's what's happening. You can't really mess with that. That is arguably the truth. Whatever the truth is to people, to scientists, that is interpreting data. And if the data show it's there, then to us, it's there.
I feel like alcohol research and even just like the current political climate, like saying like, oh, scientists are making up whatever they want, things like that can be very heavy. How do you take care of yourself researching kind of what I think can a lot of times be a heavy topic, like substance abuse, alcoholism?
Yeah. Taking care of yourself is very important given, a few of the things you just said. It's changed over time. And I think that's a function of how much work I've had to do. When there's a lot of work going on, it's tough. It's tough to take care of yourself. It's tough to find time outside of all the rigmarole of work to eat good and go to the gym and spend time with your family. Like, that can fall to the back burner sometimes. I think it's also like, when that happens, I've been very grateful and lucky to have a team of scientists that I work with who encourage those things, and who recognize the importance of like balancing work and life and giving yourself the things that you need to thrive. So I'm lucky to be in an environment of people who are also practicing what they preach. I will say that at the beginning of this year, when the new administration came in, that was very, very tough. I feel like there was a lot of things, a lot of changes happening, a lot of pushback on the scientific field, particularly within academia, a lot of threats and pulling of funding and just like one thing after the other that in those couple of months when that was happening was very intense for everybody that I know in this field. Like, every day felt like the world was ending, which is horrible. We should not have to operate in an environment like that, and we shouldn't have to operate in fear. So that was very tough. And, I think now what's most important for me is not really looking at the news. I've really been like dialing it back further and further over the last few months, and like have turned off basically all notifications on my phone. I just did like 2 weeks without Instagram, which was phenomenal. And like really, I feel like did wonders for my mental health because I wasn't just being like bombarded with information about, X, Y, or Z. So that's been best for me. And then, going to the gym has been really great and spending time with family, but mostly not looking at the news.
That's a great self-care trick. Just don't look at the news. It's tough.
It's hard.
With everything going on right now, man.
Every time I talk to someone and they're like, yeah, I just took a break from social media or I took a break from the news, I feel like they always feel so good afterwards, except for Shalabrate. Everyone, no one delete your Instagram, follow Shalabrate.
Yeah. That's our shameless pitch for the day.
Outside of Spotify, I mean, come on.
I am interested. You talked a lot kind of throughout about the good mentors that you've had and people in your life that have kind of pushed you one way or the other. I'm curious, like in a PhD program, do you see it more as like an individual kind of accomplishment and thing that you're doing? Or how much do you work with other people to get after some of these research topics and things that you're doing?
Yeah. So I definitely feel like I have learned a ton and I have done a lot independently, but I also very much believe in team science. And it's this approach that like when we work together, we work better. And so I actually this is like a perfect example of this. Just the other day, I practiced my dissertation proposal defense, which is like a 15-minute presentation that goes over the proposal. The proposal is the first 3 chapters of the dissertation, which is an introduction, a literature review, and then the methods. So like, what am I actually going to be doing in this dissertation? And so I was doing this practice with my mentor, my current mentor, her name's Nicole, and then 2 other PhD students in my lab. I'm the most senior PhD student, so they get to kind of see what I do and learn from my experiences and mistakes. Anyway, I was presenting. I did, I finished it. My mentor said, "You did phenomenal. It was great, blah, blah, blah. But you said we so much. Really take this moment to say I, because you're the one who's done all this." And it's hard because we are the ones who are doing this together collectively. I'm not just doing this all by myself. It's a team of people.
Yeah.
So I catch myself, and this is the time in my career where I'm supposed to say I and show independence, that I'm independently creating these ideas and working towards these goals, which I am, but I'm supported by a bunch of amazing women, really.
That's so cool. I feel like that's kind of a testament to you and the team that you're working on. I love that you call it like team science. Like,
Yeah, right?
And
Yeah.
I think that it's cool that you were saying we definitely take your moment to shine, but
Yeah.
I think it's like a testament to how your mentality and like, hey, we're in this together. We're all researching. What real world impact do you hope comes about from your research? Because this has been
Yeah.
like 5 years of you working on your PhD, right?
Yeah, exactly. And a lifetime longer of doing the work. I really hope that I can develop some apps that are useful for people. Well, really what I would like, I guess the apps are cool and getting use out of those is cool, but I think I'd like to teach people more about intention. That if you set an intention, if you have intentionality with your behavior in any which way, whether it's substance use, doing your homework, going to the gym, you know, eating, whatever it is, you can do that and you have the power to do that. And if you have the proper support in place, you can change your behavior. Like you can do anything. You can decide today, I want to learn how to skydive. And like with the proper support and intention in it, you can do it. And people should know that. People should be empowered to feel that they can do the things they want to do.
I love that you're building easier tools to enable people to like realize that they can do it. Because I feel like that's kind of like the whole idea behind the apps is it makes that intention accessible. You know, like you're kind of like giving them the tool that they need to start that process of, okay, I am going to change my behavior for the better.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you see academia as a form of activism, and how has that kind of played out in your own life?
That's very interesting. I think I see science as a form of activism rather than academia. I think academia is an interesting environment that affords a lot of opportunities to pursue science and to ask really interesting research questions because there's like this institutional support to do that. Um, and that's really important if you want to be an independent scientist. There's also industry science, which leans less on independence and leans more on like you have this skill, so you're going to contribute to this project. So that's a different kind of environment. But science itself, especially right now, actually is activism because, like I said, we're listening to the data, and if the data shows us that children with gender dysphoria should have transgender care, then that is activism. We have to look at the data and we have to tell people what we're seeing in the trends and what will actually impact their health, and specifically in my realm, their health outcomes. And our goal is positive health outcomes. We want people to have a better, higher quality of life. We want people to feel that they can do the things they want to do without ailment, without problem, without restraints. And that's why I think science is activism, because we're really saying, here's what the data says, and here's what we recommend. And we need to be using that information. We can't just be, it's 2025. We can't just be like, oh, I feel this way, so I'm going to do this thing. We have so much information. Let's lean on that.
Yeah, it's empowering people to make their own decisions based off of the information that you're providing.
And I think especially through the app is creating kind of that bridge between the folks that don't maybe have a lot of access to that information. But aside from kind of the apps, what are some other ways that I guess lay people, like not the academias, get information that can have us make positive impacts on our health or our lives and not maybe get like muddled up in the politics of it?
Yeah. That's challenging right now. I'd say for alcohol specifically, the National Institute on Alcohol Abuse and Alcoholism, the NIAAA, is a great resource. They have a lot of really digestible information on their website that's available for the public to see how much college students and all other age groups drink, which age groups are at most risk of developing alcohol use disorder, which is like what we would call previously alcoholism or being an alcoholic. Now we call it alcohol use disorder, which is the diagnosis of having some problems that are really impacting your life when it comes to alcohol. And then substance use disorder is the parallel for substances in general. So I would lean on, the resources that we do have available, because they are trying to put out good information for people. That can get tricky with specific topics right now. I know that, some information has been kind of scrubbed or repackaged from certain government websites. And I think this is also kind of a limitation of the scientific field right now. Like we would like to disseminate and share information more broadly. It is challenging. We're scientists. We all have this talk that we use. We really would have to be very intentional about how we're packaging our information and how we're delivering it to the public. And I think more and more scientists, especially younger scientists, have been using platforms like TikTok to do that. I've seen some really cool young PhD students, as well as people who've like recently done their PhD, who are moving to sharing their information as widely as they can that way. And I think that's really like special and empowering. I don't know if I quite have the personality to maintain this, just because it's a lot of energy and work, but I would like to, in my career, do better, really, like partner even with local organizations and find ways to share information locally or even on a grander scale. But I think local is kind of the way to go.
Yeah. I mean, that might be a good segue to kind of what is next for you. Where do you want to kind of go? What are some of your like big goals, maybe 5-10 year down the road?
Yeah. So as I mentioned, I'm going to graduate next year in the summer, so like August time. And I'm currently applying for postdoctorate fellowships, which are those 2-year extra training period. I'm applying all over, but hope to be at another institution at the university next year doing some other cool research. So that'll be about 2 years. And during that, I plan to write my second grant. So I wrote a grant last year, and I got it funded this year. Surprisingly,
nice. Heck yeah.
Under this administration, you can get funding, and I did.
Woohoo.
Nice.
And then, I hope to write another grant in my postdoc, which will basically set me up for success as an academic scientist. So I would like to then pursue a faculty position at a university where I have the opportunity to open up my own research lab, support graduate students as well as undergrads, write grants, and continue doing the research that I do. So long term, I hope to stay at a university, continue to be supported in that way, and hopefully publish a lot of cool research over the years.
That's so cool.
If someone wants to read the research that you've done so far, or connect with you, or connect with your work, what's the best way to do that now?
Most people don't really know about Google Scholar, but it's a thing. Google has its own page called Google Scholar. So anyone can look up Google Scholar. On Google Scholar, you'll click a link from Google, go to Google Scholar. You can look at my name, Elena Kalina. If you look at my name there, you will see the first thing that pops up is my profile on Google Scholar. It will include all of my published work, not just papers that I've written, but also conference presentations that I've done and collaborations with other researchers. And through there, my email is attached, but it is ekalina@ufl.edu for the next year, time being, until I leave the institution. So that's I think the easiest way.
Cool. Yeah. I'll put a link to that in our show notes to the Google Scholar so people can check out the work that you've done if they're interested in reading more about it.
Thanks. And if someone can't access it, because oftentimes there's like blocks, like paid walls to access research, just email me. I'm happy to send you. I have the copies of all my papers that I can send you for free.
Yeah. Very nice. Cool.
Yeah. Is Google Scholar, is that like behind a paywall?
Google Scholar is not, but it basically it houses work from published academic journals or published research journals. And those journals have paywalls oftentimes.
Gotcha. Okay.
Sometimes not, sometimes they do. So it's kind of a toss up.
We do have some fun questions that we want to ask you. And I didn't send you these.
Oh, okay.
They're fun though.
Awesome.
What song or playlist gets you through either like a research session or you've got a late night and you've got to finish a paper or something? What are you listening to? What are you putting on?
Okay, so I listen to a lot of music, like last year on Spotify, I was in the top 0.01% of listeners, like worldwide. So I listen to a ton of music. And I know, it's crazy.
Super fan.
That's a lot.
Who are your top 5 artists?
Yeah.
I don't remember exactly from last year, but I know that I was like at the top of the list for Chapel Roan. I was also in the 0.01% of Chapel Roan listeners last year.
Which is impressive because she's a big name artist.
Thank you. I was very impressed with that one. I did for a while. But my music taste is very, very broad and it shifts all the time. So mostly what I listen to is like, well, over time it shifted, but mostly rap, R&B, and like soul, jazzy music. I listen to a lot of jazz. But the last week I've been listening to Praise You by Fatboy Slim. And when you hear it, you're going to be like, oh, that's so like 90s girl party, like vibes.
Ooh,
and
that's your
it's
vibe.
a sweet song. Yeah. Yeah. And that's, so literally I've been listening to that like nonstop the last 2 weeks. And that's been kind of carrying me through.
So is that more like your kind of your pump up?
Yeah. Like
get you through something.
Sometimes I need a pump. Sometimes I just need like something to help me just lock in and focus.
Yeah.
And sometimes having that little bit in my ear is really nice. Although actually a lot of the time that I do my writing and stuff, I wear my headphones just on noise cancellation. So I just don't hear anything and it blocks me out from the world.
People don't
just
talk
so you can
to you.
focus.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's scary though, because my door's behind me, and then sometimes my boyfriend will come in and like he knows that I get scared, but he'll come in and I'm like, like I literally scream like, what is going on?
Where is your favorite place to get work done?
Here at my desk. You can't quite tell, but I have a monitor here, which is where I work, and this is my laptop plugged in. Then I have all my like accolades from undergrad, my master's on the wall.
Cool.
Very cool. Okay, so if your dissertation had a tagline or a movie title, what would it be?
Ooh, a tagline or a movie title? I think the title would be something like, or maybe the tagline might be like "Set Your Limits," and because it's all about setting limits around drinking. So set your limits, but the title would have to be something more like.
All I can think of is Hangover.
Alcohol Anonymous.
That's hilarious.
Hey.
Alcohol, Hangover, Set Your Limits. That's a good one, actually. Sorry to take the Hangover title, but that's pretty good because
Pretty
that's
good, yeah.
a
That is
negative
a good
outcome.
one.
Yeah.
Who would play you in that movie?
Yeah. What actress?
That's a great question. One of my favorite actresses ever is Ilana Glazer. Have you seen Broad City?
No.
Okay. You must watch Broad City. It's
All right, that's what we're doing
amazing.
after this.
Anyway, if you look her up, she has curly, short hair like me. She's just like a riot. She's also like very interested in weed. She like has this like history of smoking weed and being like an avid user. She's very sex positive, which we didn't really talk about this here, but I'm very, very sex positive. And just a lot of things about her like overlap with me. So watch the show, look her up, and you'll be like, oh yeah. People have told me I look like her before. So and we're both Jewish. So
it makes sense from all the angles.
Yeah, she's my doppelganger.
Cool.
And like, I hope I can meet her one day. I think we have a lot in common.
Let's set it up. Maybe
PSA, if she listens to this podcast,
come
hit her up on Google Scholar.
Yeah, let's get her. Let's do a crowdsourcing thing.
She's cool.
What about Shaken Not Stirred? For a title?
That's really good too. But that's like James Bond. It's giving like
Shaken Not Stirred, like, set your limits. I don't know.
Set your limits.
I had to think about it. For the like actual laid people, like not as smart, I'd be like, what? So maybe not.
Yeah, okay, maybe not. But maybe think of that, because what if they asked you that during your dissertation? Who's to say?
Yeah. Wait, do dissertations have titles?
Yes, they do.
She's like, The Hangover.
It's called an ecological momentary assessment investigation of impaired control over alcohol among college students who drink heavily. So it's a mouthful. It's a lot of information.
That could be a movie title.
Yeah, it could be.
No one would see that.
I would.
That's so nice of you.
I have one more. Do you have any advice for anyone who wants to get into academia or pursue higher education?
Yeah. First of all, it's really hard, but you got to believe in yourself. You have to believe that you can get there, or else I don't think anyone else will. The second is to get some good mentors. Like even if you are out of undergrad for a few years or several years or whatever, and you want to go back to grad school, maybe even like go back to your undergrad professors and talk to those people and start to pick their brains about like, what is the process of getting into a PhD program? Because it's rigorous, it's intense. It involves like big applications, lots of waiting, interviews, like it's hard. So leaning on a support system of people who've been through that, I think is like critical. And then, in the process of applying for a PhD, I always recommend reaching out to potential mentors of interest. Like if you're going to apply to a program, you should send an email to the professor you're interested in working with and just try to like meet on Zoom and just put a face to the name, make yourself known, ask some questions. That tends to go like miles when people are applying.
What are some things that you see in yourself that you think made you successful throughout your PhD journey?
I've learned throughout the PhD that there's a lot of not smart people who get PhDs. You do not have to be smart. You have to be determined and persistent. And I am determined, persistent, and observant. And that is
and
how
smart.
I have
She's
gotten.
smart
You're
too.
also
And,
very
and
smart.
smart. Thank you.
Yeah.
I agree.
Also very
I agree.
smart.
I agree. And I appreciate that. But I'm smart and persistent, and I think that's put me at the top of the cream of the crop, if you will.
Yeah.
But, lots of people can do it. They just need to believe in themselves and they need to keep going. When it gets tough, just keep going. For the love of God, keep on going. That's what I tell myself. When it gets really, really hard, I'm just like, you just got to push through this and it will change and it'll be different and you'll get past it,
Do you have a hype person who helps you kind of get through those moments?
Like a collection, like kind of professionally and then also personally. Like personally, I have my boyfriend. He's amazing. He's been with me every step of the way. Like we moved together from Arizona. He's going to move with me again when I go for postdoc. So having someone there who like you get to share all this information with over the years. And like he's like a little prodigy, which is so funny. And he does something totally different. He's a glass blower and I'm like a prodigy in glass blowing because I have learned so much from him over the years. So I think having that like partner that's like, oh yes, you can do this. You're so smart. You're getting better. Like I can see the progress you're making. That means everything. I also have like this professional group, like my mentor and the other PhD students in my lab. They're amazing. We like have a group chat. We talk all the time. We celebrate all the highs and we talk about all the lows together. And like having that team to lean on is really amazing. And then lastly, like our whole family, my family, my boyfriend's family, all the people that I have been friends with over the years. Like every time we go home back to Arizona and I get to see all my family and all my friends, I literally tell them like, I'm doing this for you. Like the only reason I can do this is because I have all of you like saying you can do this. Like I'm tearing up, but that's the truth. Like it's because other people are motivating me.
I love that you have that support and community to just cheer you on. Like I love hearing when people just have like a community that is like, you can do this. Like, and then people do incredible things. That's the whole reason why we want to share your story so that more people can connect with you and just keep cheering you on.
Yeah, it takes a village sometimes. Big girl's girl. We do have one more question for you.
Ask it.
We started this for season 2. We ask all of our guests what their hottest hot take is.
About anything?
About anything.
Okay.
Oh, she's got a good one. She's like wheeling up.
I feel like I have many all of the time. Right now I'm going a little bit blank. But
I had one I need to start writing them down too because I'm the same way. I like have a good one and then I'm like, gosh, I should have wrote that down.
Mine are all random.
Oh yeah.
Usually they're kind of more random. I for some reason, like I'm feeling something related to the gym. Like,
okay.
Clean the things after you work with them. Like wear shoes. Don't just like walk around barefoot
wearing
in the gym.
shoes at the gym?
I've seen it. It's a wild place in there.
Are they wearing socks or are they barefoot?
I've seen both. And I've been like,
out
socks is
of
better
there.
than
Don't be
barefoot.
doing
If you're barefoot in the
Don't be
gym,
doing
you're
that.
gonna get a fungus.
You're
No,
gonna
that's not
get
a
a
hot
fungus.
take.
It's not
that's
if,
a
it's
health
when.
concern. That is a health hazard. We're talking
That's
about
so
health
funny.
concerns.
Yeah, literally.
Yeah, I feel like. Also, okay, here's my hot take.
Okay.
We're at the gym.
Yep.
Don't wear political stuff. I've seen people wear like political hats and political shirts, and I'm like, this is the gym. This is my peaceful place. I'm not trying to like get into a fight with anybody. I'm not gonna get into a fight with anybody, but like, you know.
Yeah.
That's a good hot take.
That's a good hot take.
Thank
That
you.
is a very good hot take because it's just like, yeah, it kind of is like a space where people go to chill out, relax, and you don't need either
Yeah.
side being thrown in your
Either
face.
side. Yeah, I don't want
You
to.
don't want to
I don't
think
want to
about
know.
it.
You
Yeah.
don't want to think about it because you
Yeah.
can go anywhere else and
Yeah.
turn on your phone that's constantly being bombarded.
Yes. Yeah. Let me work out.
I feel
in
like that's a
peace.
very good hot take.
That's a good hot take.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
One of our better ones.
That's really nice of you. I'll think of another one sometime and text it to you, Kyra, because I feel like all
Okay.
the time I'm like, what the heck? Why is this happening? About all kinds of things.
Give me all of the hot takes
You know-
that you have. Like, if you just like, oh, I got a hot take. Let me text this to someone. Me, I'm your gal.
Yeah, and then we'll compare notes because I've loved nothing more than a hot take that like really pisses somebody off.
Yeah.
Like if my hot take Kyra like doesn't agree with at all, you know? Because
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
one of my hot takes is that Trader Joe's is overrated, and that is just infuriating to people.
That's interesting.
But it's my hot take and I stand by it.
You're entitled to that. I think that a lot of things about it make it worse. Like the parking lot, horrible. Why am I like automatically angry and I'm trying to come and enjoy my little pumpkin spice flavored everything?
Yeah.
Like,
I feel like she's on my side.
She is on your side.
I don't go very often, but when I do go, I'm like, oh,
Yeah,
like
I
Trader
agree.
Joe's. Yeah.
Yeah. It's just so far away that it's never ever been
far.
worth it to me to like
Yeah.
take a trip just to Trader Joe's. And that's why I feel that way.
My hot take that I know that people will really not like, but I was thinking about this earlier this week. You know how like Whole Foods or kind of like fancier grocery stores, how they'll have like a pizza place inside the grocery store? I personally feel like those pizza places are way better than any other pizza that you can get anywhere else. Their
They're pretty
pizza
good.
is fire. The Whole Foods
It is.
pizza, delicious. And it's so easy. You walk up to the counter, it's already ready. Boom, you take it away. It's so delicious.
I don't think that's
think
going to have a lot of people on.
No, I think
on
people
end.
will be up in arms about this.
Really? Okay, we're gonna
'cause
post
people
that.
are crazy about their pizza.
I have a follow-up hot take about
Yes.
the Whole Foods pizza. The Whole Foods pizza is good, but whatever the container is that they have, that's the worst container in the world. It's like
Wait, why?
it's like a
A
triangle.
cardboard triangle.
Cardboard triangle.
That feels-
and it
But
doesn't
it doesn't really close. No.
You need to be closing. You need to be able to close.
See, that's not a problem for me because
You just eat it on the spot.
I'm eating it. Like I'm checking out. Like
Eating
I'm
it,
ringing the box, but it's like
That's
already
fair.
in my mouth. I'm eating it.
Yeah.
So
I feel really happy in general when I'm in that section of Whole Foods. You know what I mean? Because you get
Yeah.
to like bebop and you're
All
like,
the
there's the
food.
sushi, the pizza, the salad
The hot bar.
I just
Yeah.
feel really good when I'm in that area too.
so do I.
Yeah, I feel like I've touched it all, but thank you again. This was so wonderful. It's so wonderful to talk to some other nice women, and I'll continue to listen to the podcast and learn more about you too because I'm new friends of yours.
Yeah.
I really appreciate it, and I've had a wonderful time talking to you both.
Oh, thanks for saying
Thank
that.
you.
We're excited to spend time with you, hear your story, and get to share it.
Yeah, if you're ever in North Carolina, you gotta
Come up.
hit us
Yeah.
up so that we can hang out.
Yeah, absolutely. Same if you're ever in
Definitely.
Gainesville.
Yeah, we can make a quick stop
Quick
to
little
Florida.
stop to Florida.
Come on down.
Round 2, episode round 2.
Yeah,
Follow up.
it would be interesting, like with partners, because
Yeah.
I think our partners are interesting,
Yeah.
and like cool and like feminist and not like
Or-
I think that could be interesting.
What if we did this down the road in a couple years if we're still doing this podcast? When we're still doing this
When we're
podcast?
still-
Oh, where
Honestly.
are they now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where is Elena now?
Yeah.
What is she doing now?
I'll be
That would be
doctor by
very
then.
cool.
So
Oh my gosh. Whoa.
Are you gonna be one of those people that like you can call me doctor?
oh yeah. No, like
I think you should. I think
Yeah.
you should. Should we title your episode "Soon to Be Doctor"?
Almost
Should we?
doctor.
Yeah, almost.
that's
doctor.
so nice. I would love that.
We're here for you and you only. So whatever you
love
want.
that so
We're
much.
here to be
no,
hype
like
girls. Okay.
That
Like when
would
people
make me
type
so
in your
hyped.
name, if it pops up, they should be like, "Oh my gosh, yeah, she is
Doctor.
soon to be a doctor."
oh my god, it's so exciting. Yeah, I'm so in. Literally, like every day, I tell myself like, in just a few more months, they're gonna call you doctor. Like, so close,
That's
so
crazy.
close. Yeah, and I'll be the first in my family of any kind of doctor, so that's kind of cool too.
That's
Whoa.
very impressive. You
Thank
should be very
you.
proud of that.
Yeah.
Thank you. I am, and my name is my mom's name. I have her last name, not my dad's last name. My mom's an immigrant. She's from the Soviet Union, immigrated here a long time ago, but I have her name, and like her family is all girls, and her name is her dad. So like I plan to keep my name even if we get married, and so I will always be Dr. Kalina, kind of in honor of my grandpa and his name.
Like,
Oh my gosh, that's so cool.
that's cool.
Thank you.
We're like, my husband didn't go to school to be
Get
a
a
doctor.
PhD,
I'm not
yeah.
taking his last name.
No. We're gonna be doctor and mister. That's how it works in
That's
this
so
household.
cool. That is so cool.
Yeah, the invitation says Mr. and Doctor.
Yeah. I feel
Doctor
like doctor
first.
goes before Mr.
Yeah, you're
Yes.
right.
For etiquette reasons.
Yes, like when Biden was president, his wife is a doctor, so it was Doctor and Mr. President or whatever.
Oh, I love that.
She came first. Yeah, pretty cool.
That's super cool.
I didn't know that, but
pretty
yeah,
cool.
it should be like that.
Thank you so much for spending time with us. It's been really, really interesting to talk to someone getting their PhD. I don't know very many people, especially in the military community. We don't really interact with academics that often, if ever. And so it's just kind of like a really cool breath of fresh air to hear and talk to someone doing something different outside of what we're used to.
Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate like getting the opportunity to share my story and to
Yeah.
be part of a platform of other amazing women. Like I live for that. So thank you very much.
Thank you for everyone that tuned in. If you do want to hear or learn a little bit more about what she's doing, we will put that in the show notes as well.
Aw, you guys are the best. Well, thank you so much.
Yeah, and thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next time.
See ya.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to Shalaborate. We can't wait to bring you more episodes.
Don't forget to follow, like, and drop us a review. Our episodes are available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Patreon.
If you liked the show, post it on your social media and pass it along. Women supporting women is the whole point.
We'll be back next week with more opinions, more stories, and more collaboration.
Until then, I'm Kat.
And I'm Tyra. This podcast is for the girls.